think the offense is a sports car, if it's a Lamborghini, because you got Marvin Harrison and you got Emeka Egbuka and you've got Treyveon Henderson, who ran hard yesterday despite some smaller opportunities. You got a lot of flash. I want to know what's under the hood. What's the engine look like? Because right now, the engine that should make this offense click, in my opinion, is the offensive line, the ability to move the line of scrimmage so that you can run the ball effectively. And right now, I wonder if the engine is a true Lamborghini engine.
Yeah.
Because I think they're not terrible, right? This isn't embarrassing. It's not like your quarterback's getting drilled all the time. But we're 2 weeks into it now, and Indiana's defensive line, I genuinely think, is improved. Youngstown State is a team that you should push around. They are literally here because you're paying them a couple $1 million to lose in a glorified scrimmage. And I don't know if it's a mentality thing in the second half where they just figured, we're going to cruise, we're not going to get hurt, whatever. I don't want to call out individual guys for effort. I don't think that's fair. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I see enough like nastiness in the trenches, kind of on both sides of the ball. But we'll talk about the offensive line here for a moment. You should not have a problem moving the line of scrimmage north and south against an FCS opponent, period.
Period. End of story. And honestly, you were on it yesterday when we were texting during the game. You're like, hey, I don't know about, some of the stuff up front. And I was like, I wasn't sure. Wasn't quite sure. And then you go back and watch it and you're like, that was yesterday's performance, honestly, was not a bit discouraging. It was very discouraging from my perspective. And like you said, never from an effort standpoint would I criticize. I think that, that's totally unfair to do. But I think from an execution standpoint, there's a lot to be desired from those guys. And the way you can quantify it, because it's so hard. Like, we live in such a stats world, especially as fans and, us covering the team. That's like, okay, quarterback played bad today. He was X for Z, throwing the ball for Y yards, right? But up front, it's hard to do that. But what you can look at, and what I looked at from the game yesterday, was 4.6 yards a carry. Okay, that's okay, but take the outlier away. Take Treyveon Henderson's 30-yard run away, and you're at 3.9 yards a carry from Ohio State playing Youngstown State.
That's not good enough.
That's bad. Like, it's not like, okay, that's bad. And where that shows up is it's all connected, right? When you are only averaging 3.9 yards a carry, that's a lot of stalemates at the line of scrimmage. That's a lot of second and longs. And then that becomes a lot of third and longs. And how does that relate? Well, then you're now in third, and the offense is at a disadvantage, right? When it's 3rd and 7+, you go 5 of 12 on third down. That forces you then to have to go 4 on fourth down. Now you're 2 of 3 on fourth down. You're punting the ball when you shouldn't be punting the ball. And it's all connected because they can't establish the line of scrimmage because, like Coach Day said earlier in the week, this offensive front lacks physicality. It truly does. And I hate saying that because, like, these guys are putting in a ton of effort. They're working. It's not for lack of trying, but you can't move a front. Youngstown State should never touch a Ohio State running back in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. That just should never, ever, ever happen. And it happened consistently throughout the day yesterday.
It's a problem that I think it would be disingenuous, to use that word again, to not acknowledge, okay, we're talking about 2 weeks in a row here against a team that I think has a better defensive line, but is still projected to be a bottom half of the Big Ten team, and an opponent that you should pound. You got one more chance against Western Kentucky in this, think about it, I guess, as like a 3-game preseason. I don't know exactly how to fix it unless you adjust the attitudes, because I actually heard somebody say this yesterday, and I wonder if there's something to it. The best players on Ohio State's team are quieter dudes. Mm-hmm. They're generally guys that are not super rah-rah, right? Kyle McCord leads by example. He's not a super vocal kid. Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't run his mouth much. Xavier Johnson isn't a big, like, in your face, firing you up, rah-rah kind of guy. Tommy Eichenberg talks as much as the wall in front of me talks. And they're all good players. They're some of the best players on the team. Cade Stover. Cade's got a little bit of a mean streak to him, but it's like a country boy mean streak, and it doesn't come across as super vocal. So I guess some of this is a question for you. Is like, when you're in a locker room, because you've played as a starting quarterback on a team that made it to the national Final Four, like, is it fair to say that you need a couple dudes that have bad intentions and can, like, get a team to feel, hey, we got to go out and move some people?
I think it's totally fair to say. And in my experience of it, I remember, I've referenced it a couple times. I played the defense that I played with was a number 3 defense in the country. So awesome. And their front line were just like total, think of like a Division III level, just savages, just like get after the quarterback. We had the sack leader, the countrywide sack leader. We just had run stoppers everywhere. And they were just like straight up mean. And I just remember like just their intentions were, I'm going to hurt that quarterback, or I'm going to hurt that running back. And when you practice against that every day, it's like it leaves your offensive line no other choice than to figure it out, because they're beating you in every team session. They're beating you in every 2-minute drill. They're beating you in team run. They're beating you in team pass. Like, those things are happening because they have the want to. And it's not that there's no want to on this team, but I think that you make a great point in that some of the leaders are a little bit quieter. And up front, at least, you guys aren't going to be, potentially barking back, or, hey, in practice, like, you get beat by somebody in practice, like, let them know, like, yeah, I beat you. And that's a big deal. And it's really hard. It's so hard to coach physicality, because it's just something in you. Like, it's something in you that just flicks, the switch flips, and you're, trying to dominate the guy in front of you. It's really hard to teach. And it's like something you have or not, which kind of concerns me, because it's like, all right, if there was ever a game where, Ohio State could have really imposed their will and, like, stop all conversation about this, it was yesterday, because they really could have just dominated the entire game up front, and they just didn't. And it's hard to put an answer to that question.
And I almost wonder if it's on both sides. So let's kind of flip to the defensive line, because I don't want to keep pounding this on the offensive line. I could dog Josh Simmons more, because he seems like he can't stop struggling. I don't know. I don't want to overdo the offensive line talk.